Let's stay with this theme of grace, amazing grace. And let's repeat the affirmation in today's daily word. The grace of God is alive in me. The grace of God is alive in me. Together, the grace of God is alive in me. But I have a question. Why should we find grace amazing? Isn't grace just another word for divine order? I mean, we affirm that there's one presence, one power, one love active in our lives, in the world, in the entire universe, in every moment that ever was or ever will be. One presence, one power, one love, one grace. One love, my friends, as the Persian Sufi mystic Rumi put it, love rests on no foundation. It is an endless ocean with no beginning or end. And if it is true that we come from and live in the endless ocean of love, then grace is an ever-present light, always guiding us back to our own hearts. Love is how divine order presents itself. God is madly in love with his creation. There can be nothing more beautiful than the work of his hands. When God gazes upon his handiwork, he is looking in the mirror, seeing only himself arrayed in an endless variety of forms. Everything made and unmade is but a version of God, and thus divine order, God order, prevails throughout the universe, his masterpiece. And we know that I am, and you are, and we all are, but a version of God. We cannot be otherwise. We are masterpieces secured by grace, swimming in the endless ocean of love. We can see the utter brilliance of this masterpiece that we are revealed in our mental struggles to perceive ourselves this way. This may at first seem counterintuitive, but we know that God is always up to something that mental minds cannot understand. Divine order dictates that as little children, we awake into the ocean of love, utterly unaware of the fact. We are just like the fish that has no awareness of the water it swims in. Our minds start out in primordial darkness, with no inkling of what is waiting for us to discover. In the constraints imposed by the structure of our human brains and nervous systems, we are born into conditionality. We have no choice but to grow up assuming that the conditions we experience, the endless bouncing around between fear, happiness, doubt, excitement, anticipation, disappointment, are absolute and permanent. The emotional roller coaster that we experience as little kids merely reinforces a sense of insecurity and a need to defend against ever-lurking unknown threats. Then our thinking conforms to these assumptions. This world of conditionality is what John Newton, who wrote Amazing Grace, refers to in the lyrics of his hymn. Feeling limited, trapped, ignorant, and prone to error are what made him and makes us feel like wretches. Remember, his line is, saved a wretch like me. We find ourselves lost, blind, forced to endure dangers, toils, and snares. Merriam-Webster defines a wretch as someone who is profoundly unhappy or in great misfortune, struggling through life with no sense of the profound gifts with which we are born, or of the love that is our constant companion, would make anybody profoundly unhappy. But divine order also dictates that this state of error consciousness into which we are born is not permanent. We are also born in the light with which to dispel the darkness. We are born with the power to move into this light, as well as with the power to choose whether to do so or not. We may be lost, but we can be found. We may be blind, but we can open our eyes to see. Now, no matter what my thoughts say, there is only God, one presence, one power, one love, active in my experience right here, right now. And so there is always only divine order prevailing in my experience. John Newton understood this. He was quite the metaphysician. There's this verse of Amazing Grace that goes, "'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed." Now, our book has metaphysical words. They don't say, "'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear." But this is an important lesson that Newton understood. He says that grace both teaches our hearts to fear and relieves us of the ravages of fear. How else can this contradiction exist except as the activity of divine order? Everything that happens in divine order. Everything is in God. Nothing is outside of God. The way that we human beings develop from a single cell zygote to the mature adult comprising 30 trillion cells is the dictate of divine order. The way that we develop from limited consciousness to the wisdom of the master is also the determination of divine order. These are the way God has decreed that things shall be. And as we saw last week, this unfolding creative process that we all share is the wonder of our being, the grace that amazes the limited human mind. Now let's take a moment to experience this amazing, but to God, perfectly commonplace reality. I invite us to close our eyes, close our physical eyes, and open our spiritual eyes. As in meditation, for a moment, go inside. Allow whatever is pulsing through your body to presence itself. Notice the sensations in your feet, in your legs. What do you feel on your skin? Are you warm? Perhaps you're feeling a touch of cool. How is your breathing? How loosely does your shirt or your blouse feel upon your upper body? Let's take the time to feel whatever is showing up. And of course, let's also notice our thoughts. Oh, the places our mind will want to take us. But we know we can discipline our thoughts to bring us to where we want to go. We do this by affirmations. I am in my right and perfect place right now. I am in my right and perfect place right now. Let's say this out loud together. I am in my right and perfect place right now. And notice if and how your body reacts to hearing this. And now let's say this affirmation silently to our own inner chamber. I am in my right and perfect place right now. And just see what shows up in your inner chamber. In this quiet moment of contemplation, we give ourselves up to the grace of divine order that is always flowing through our lives. Our experience is the movement of grace. We do not do this as passive consumers, but as active directors. God and his universe are always at our disposal to help us manifest the world we want. So I ask us, what do you want for yourself today? Just today, the 2nd day of May, 2021, what do you want? Take a moment to visualize the Sunday you want to manifest today. If nothing comes directly to mind, simply move your focus to your heart and allow it to open up and tell you what it wants. And whatever it is that you want today, affirm it for yourself. What shows up for me in this moment is I want a day of happiness and connection. Happiness and connection. So let's affirm that whatever it is that we want to manifest today, it is already on its way into manifestation. This is all we ever have to do. In gratitude, I affirm that I am experiencing happiness and connection. This is my affirmation. You have your own. In gratitude, I affirm that I am experiencing happiness and connection. Take a moment to make that affirmation for yourself. In gratitude, I affirm that I am experiencing whatever it is I said I wanted. And isn't that amazing? That we can do this, that all it takes is to notice what's on our hearts and affirm it's coming into our experience. Now, the fourth verse of the original words of Amazing Grace is not in our hymnal, and that's too bad, because it affirms that we can claim our good, our heart's desires, as a manifestation of grace or divine order. These are the words: "The Lord has promised good to me. His word my hope secures. He will my shield and portion be, as long as life endures." Now, I'm sure that many of you have come to know this in your bones is the truth. We are always in the flow of the good the Lord has promised us. As long as life endures, so too does the presence, power, and love of God vibrate in our lives. And as we practice aligning our thoughts with this everlasting truth with discipline and patience, amazing things show up in our lives. Ever since I became aware of the fact that the thoughts of my subconscious mind were the thoughts I needed to change, and that I access my subconscious thinking through my emotional body, I have come to experience my life as full of grace and security. Using this method, I have set my conscious intention to manifest a world of joy, peace, freedom, and community. And these are what I see and feel every day. John Newton in Amazing Grace affirmed his experience of that truth this way: "Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I've already come. 'Tis grace hath brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home." As Connie said in the meditation, grace is and has always been with us. From the moment of conception to this very hour, we have always been immersed in the flow of grace and secured by divine order. And as with loving persistence and patience, we retrain our minds to be in sync with this abiding presence, it slowly but surely dawns in our consciousness that we are safe and secure from all alarm, that grace surely brings us to lean on the everlasting arms of the indwelling Christ. Now, basking in this moment of security of the grace that always enlightens us, can we not now look outward at the world, at the turmoil and fear, the pandemic and the politics, and for once see them as they are, manifestations of divine order? Can we not trust to the truth that grace pervades everything and everybody? If we truly have faith that there is only one presence, one power, one love enlightening our world today, can we not release our fears and our judgments and let divine order do its thing? Grace is present in the pandemic. Grace is present in the recovery. Grace is present in poverty. Grace is present in wealth. Grace is present in ignorance. Grace is present in knowledge. Wherever we are, grace is, and all is well. The great American metaphysician Joel Goldsmith wrote, "God's grace is the gift of himself appearing on earth as us. God the Father is appearing on earth as God the Son, and these are one, not two. Therefore, all that the Father has is ours. All that God is, we are, once we have overcome our religious superstition and ignorance." Now, we do our spiritual practice every day in our commitment to replace ignorance with wisdom and insight. We become eager to discover every obstacle to spiritual realization hiding out in our subconscious minds, so that we may bring them out of the darkness and into the light, and there ask God to transform them from impediments to love to vehicles of grace. Lowell Fillmore, son of the Unity co-founders, said, "Remember that the grace of God is God's love in action. God's grace is unlimited and so wonderful that words can scarcely describe it. We can use such words as mercy, forgiveness, compassion, goodwill, kindness, inspiration, and generosity to describe God's grace, but they are hardly adequate to cover the fullness of its meaning." Well, the good news is that we have no need of intellectual understanding of grace. We have only to open our eyes to see its activity. It is not only in and around us, it is also always and evermore present throughout the entire universe. Just as time and place do not restrict God, time and place do not restrict grace. In the second book of Corinthians, the 12th chapter, Jesus reminds Paul that my grace is sufficient for thee, for my power is made perfect in weakness. My grace is sufficient for thee, for my power is made perfect in weakness. And so whenever I fail, whenever I succumb to the habit of critical or negative thinking, whenever I feel overwhelmed by doubt and fear, I still know that grace is also there with me. In my moment of doubt and fear, in my habit of critical or negative thinking, grace is there with me. I can reopen my spiritual eye because the grace to do so abides, always sufficient, as Jesus says, to meet the moment. Now, John Newton ends Amazing Grace with these words of affirmation and wisdom. "Yea, when this flesh and heart shall fail, and mortal life shall cease, I shall possess within the veil a life of joy and peace. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun." My friends, this beautiful hymn, Amazing Grace, resonates with so many of us because its metaphysics are perfect and true. Grace is always shining bright as the sun. Yesterday, today, 10,000 years ago, 10,000 years from now. So as we come to the end of our time together, let us affirm this truth. Grace has brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. Grace has brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. Together, grace has brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. And now, with this truth vibrating in our entire being, this recognition that we are bathed in grace, we are swimming in an ocean of love, I'd like us to sing together the entire original 6 verses of Amazing Grace. And Gordon will put the words up on the screen for those who don't have them, and we can sing along with the recording.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like
My friends, we began today. Connie started us out with the daily word. We ended up singing this beautiful, beautiful praise of metaphysical truth about the power of divine order and grace. So let's bring the circle to a complete close by affirming once again today's daily word. The grace of God is alive in me. The grace of God is alive in me. Together, the grace of God is alive in me. And so it is. Thank you, God, for everlasting love and grace. Amen.